If the government hid something from you for 50 years, would you be suspicious as to what's being hidden? Well, I'm going to tell you right now that there's something going on everybody needs to know, but you can't. You won't find out for 50 years. The information I'm about to share with you today is, in my opinion, so typical, and yet it gets even worse than what we've expected. I mean, come on. When you look at the details within this, specifically related to Credit Suisse, their bailout, the information contained within is so secret that they won't tell you until you're probably resting in peace. I want to show you that. If you let me, let's begin. Here we have it. Credit Suisse inquiry will keep files secret for 50 years. Now, that's not typical. Not at all, in fact. Let me show you why. A parliamentary investigation into the collapse of Credit Suisse will keep files closed for 50 years, a level of secrecy that has triggered concern among Swiss historians. And that's a good thing. That's a good sign, right? But what's going on? Why is it actually worse than what you would have thought it could be? Well, the document means the investigating commission will hand over its files to the Swiss Federal Archives after a longer gap than the usual 30 years to ensure high levels of confidentiality apply to the investigation, which has generated huge public interest. So they're going an additional 20 years beyond. So nobody's going to care about it in 50 years. That's the whole point, right? If it was just a normal bailout, if the circumstances contained during this period of time were relatively normal, then you wouldn't need to do this at all. That information could come out. You could say the money went from there to there. It was given to them. No big deal. That's the end of that. They bailed out this company. And that's perhaps what we thought it was. But when they do this and lock it down for a period of 50 years, I know what I'm thinking, and you're probably thinking the same thing. Wait a second. What else went on? There must be something in that is so bad that they don't even want to show people, not for even the 30 years. So not as if it's public. Okay, let's just let everybody know. It's not a big deal. Not even the 30 years, but 50 years. Something is in that they don't want you to know. And they're not going to let you know. Who knows? Even at 50 years, maybe they'll just extend it. But in 50 years, nobody will care because there'll be 10 more crises from now until then. And people are only going to know about that. And maybe I'll be still making videos in 50 years. And maybe I'll be sharing what happened in there. But nobody's going to remember. Okay, that's the honest truth. There's more. But basically, you can see the investigation will focus on the activities of the Swiss government, financial regulator, and the central bank in the run-up to the emergency takeover of Credit Suisse by UBS. The investigation is only the fifth of its kind in the country's modern history, and the Committee of Lawmakers conducting it has sweeping powers to call on the Swiss cabinet, finance ministry, and other state bodies. After a completion of the investigation, the hull shall be handed over and subjected to a protection period of 50 years. I mean, you can't tell me, you cannot, under no circumstances, tell me that is reasonable. So what happened leading up to this? Just a quick little history about that. Back in 2022, SNB, the Swiss National Bank, withdraws record sum from the Fed's swap line. So these central banks, particularly with the Fed, they set up these currency swaps. Okay, so if there is in this case here, the Swiss National Bank, they needed suddenly a lot of US dollar. And that really started to increase. It was like, just mass quantities suddenly. And there was this, billions and billions and billions. Why? Why all of a sudden you need billions? It was, then it became 6 billion. Then it became 11 billion. I covered that here on the channel. If you weren't aware of that, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe because you get this crazy information that then comes out like 6 months, a year later, leading back into what we saw before. We are able to get into this in depth if you're here as a subscriber. Look, what happened is they, started requiring billions of dollars. And some were saying this is related to Credit Suisse. Credit Suisse is weak. They're getting involved in all these different things. And now we know something big happened during this time that is really bad. It's terrible, but we'll have to wait 50 years. Hopefully that information will somehow come out before then, but this is what we're dealing with, okay? So we knew where it was prior. We knew it was bad. We knew something was going on. Turn the page. Here we are. They get bailed out. The information now locked down for 50 years. So I brought that to you. I was concerned about it back then, 2022, started highlighting that. And here we are today, sealed up. So I was covering that stuff, trying to draw how important this was, and information sealed for 50 years. I think what I was trying to uncover for everybody, or the details that we had at that time, was important, and clearly it is. Okay, here we go. FBI director admits Bureau colludes with businesses to collect info on innocent Americans. I just want to highlight this because it shows us that if they want to do something, they'll do it. If they want to keep information from you, they'll do it. It doesn't matter the country, doesn't matter the government, they'll all do it. What about this one? I know it's small font, but that building you're seeing right there, that's AT&T. The NSA's spy hub in New York, hidden in plain sight. Okay? And it's like AT&T's like call routing center. All the calls that you make are routed through this building. That's the way it goes. Okay, pretty crazy. But I'm just trying to show you that they keep tabs on everybody. That information is there. They know what you said today. They know what I'm saying now. And we got to be aware of that, okay? It's not something that's so suspicious anymore. We know this. So, they're going to give us the information that they want. Anything you see in the media, they put it there. You got to remember that. Anything that you see in the media, anything in the mainstream media, it was put there. It's not there for, an investigation was going on. No. Investigations that are important, you could see. They lock it down. They do not let you access that information. But there are like Freedom of Information Act requests. There are different ways to pull some of it. But when there's anything important, redactions. We know that. But we try to get what we can. We bring that information out. And sometimes it's very useful. Who's watching my bank accounts? One third-party database banks in use is World Check Risk Intelligence, which is owned by Refinitiv. Okay, World Check helps financial institutions with regulatory requirements and passes information that they hold on normal savers, potential terrorists, and fraudulent and politically exposed people to banks so that they can avoid being used to launder proceeds of crime or being associated with corrupt or criminal businesses and practices. If the person's on a sanctions list worldwide, they'll also be in the database. So you have one central database for a whole bunch of different people. And there are bank accounts associated with it. Anybody who's worked for a financial company knows that there is a list. There is literally a list that is being shared amongst governments and businesses and so on. Don't do business with these people or with these, things and the whole, all their bank accounts and everything are associated there. So I'm just trying to highlight that the information's there. They know everything about us. They know who they are blacklisting. And most of them, maybe they're bad people. I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just trying to highlight that this is going on. That's all, okay? A lot of highlighting being done today. What is Mitsubishi? Most Americans say it's a car company. And while that is true, Mitsubishi is also the 6th largest bank in the world, a business that dwarfs its auto arm. Mixing a car company and a bank is illegal in America, where the Bank Holding Company Act separates banking and commerce. Bank holding companies are regulated by the Federal Reserve, a job that requires the Fed to monitor the relationship between the bank and the affiliated companies. The failure of Silicon Valley Bank exposes the dirty little secret of what holding company regulation often entails. Not that much. Okay, so they're just saying here that there's trying to be this separation in between the banks, and you can't, if you're a bank, you can't do this. That's great because you don't want your deposits mixed in with all of that. But there are so many loopholes. There are so many different ways for companies to basically be a bank, but not have to play by the bank's rules. Okay. And so I'm trying to segue this into what's going on in the financial industry, that they do whatever they want. The rules don't apply to them as they would to you. They don't have to use generally accepted accounting principles. They don't have to play these rules. They don't. And that's very clear. Very, very clear. All right, more than 50 MPs have owned stakes in publicly listed companies that raise questions about the possible conflicts of interest and that until now have been, in effect, secret. Parliamentary rules mean that MPs' shareholdings, including ones that were held by the former Prime Minister Theresa May, do not need to be publicly disclosed. Okay? And so voters are left in the dark. So the people that are in the government in the UK, they don't need to tell people what they own. How does that sound? How does that sound? This is all in secret. Once again, secret, secret, secret. And just like this, I hope you stayed until this part because we got some interesting things. JP Morgan Chase is fined by the SEC after mistakenly deleting 47 million emails. I talked about that. Oh yes, it was the retention with one of their vendors. Yeah, how obvious this is that this was done intentionally. Look, even I've told this before, even if they somehow deleted that email, which no, okay, 47 million. You don't delete 47 million emails, doesn't happen. You still have like the header data. For sure, you have header data. And what does that mean? It's like, who is it sent to? Who is it sent from? You've got the subject line and like how many, does it have an attachment? Is there, how many megabytes or kilobytes it is? That there wouldn't go away. It's not going to go away. So we know that inside of these emails that were deleted, there was something really important in there. A lot of speculation around that, but they get away with that. Oh, a little fine. Yeah, I'm sure JP Morgan, with its profits soaring to the sky, yeah, I'm sure they're real hurt by this. Whatever they covered up by deleting those emails was definitely worth the fine. What do you think about this? What was in those emails? Put it in the comments below. Let's have that discussion. If you don't feel comfortable on here, join me on the Discord where we can talk about that. Here we are. Bank of America was fined $250 million this week by U.S. federal regulators for allegedly harming customers by double dipping on fees, withholding credit card rewards, and opening fake accounts. I mean, come on. They do whatever they want, these companies. There is no, wrong or right for them. They do whatever they want. So this is what's going on. We've got all of these things. You can see governments and these big businesses, they collude to ensure that they stand to gain, you stand to lose. That's just the way it goes. I want to talk more about this, but we can't, get into too much depth here on this platform. So I want you to join me on the Discord where we could say a lot more. Okay, definitely check this out. It is incredible because I can get to you, you can get to me, we can have direct messages. I'm in there every single day. I'm going to be doing giveaways, so I want you to join that. The giveaways are starting. I'm thinking about just letting you know, potentially cash giveaways, but we'll see how that goes. Join that Discord. Okay, click that link in the description and I'll see you there.